And you know that that's not enough when your coping mechanisms are getting too expensive or too hard to reach or not enough. So that's really a sign that for you to reach the next level, that is the everyone. So we have the me, the we, and the everyone. And
Mm.
that's the moment in your life when you realize that you're here to do something significant to the world.
Welcome to the Be Better broadcast. Listen, we know you listen to this show because you are a peak performer in your line of work or your business. You are somebody who has success in at least one or several or many of the key areas of life: your emotions, your finances, your physical body, your career, your relationships. Maybe you've got all 4 or 5 of those areas maxed out at the peak capacity, and you're working to improve those each day. But maybe there's that one area of your life that is holding back the others. Well, regardless, today we're going to have a conversation around how you can know yourself and achieve extraordinary results as a result of knowing yourself. And to do that, we have a very special person. Her name is Dr. Virginia Lacayo, and we're going to help you discover maybe you are at the top of your game, but you feel that something is missing. We're going to talk to you about how to know what's missing, how to take action on that, and how to truly create the life that you want and the life that you deserve. So for those who don't know Virginia, Dr. Virginia Lacayo is a co-founder and CEO of Massive, a firm that coaches business leaders called to take on systemic change. Dr. Lacayo is a certified mindset coach, a complexity scientist, and a systemic leadership expert. Virginia is a committed social entrepreneur and a feminist activist who mentors women activists who are fighting for social justice throughout Latin America. So we're talking today to someone who is the very description I just gave. They are building their career. They're helping other people. They're living through their purpose, living through their mission. We're going to talk to Dr. Virginia about how she does that. And when you take even just one thing from this conversation with Dr. Lacayo, all that we ask is you share this show with just one other person who could use it as well. We're not going to show you ads. We're not going to play sponsors because we don't want to interrupt your viewing experience. And you are the reason that we've grown to over 350 episodes, because you are the best part of the Be Better team. Without further ado, Dr. Virginia, all the way from Austin, Texas. It's great to have you here.
It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you're the picture perfect example of someone who is behind a mission, right? Someone who is perhaps putting in the extra work, the extra time in an area that you don't need to, right? You've built a business, you built a career, you've got many different projects coming up that you're working on, which we're going to talk about. But let's talk about that real quick, because you're very similar to me, right? We don't feel fulfilled, and I'm assuming here, by the way, I could be wrong, but we don't feel fulfilled unless we are working on a mission or a project that's larger than ourselves. Would you agree with that overall sentiment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That has been my life, my passion in life, not just following my own calling, but also helping other people to follow their calling the most effective way. That's the key word.
And there's a lot of different ways that you do that, and I want to talk to you about that. But let me ask you this question. Many people build their lives, and they, from the outside, it might look like they have everything. They have the money, they've got the cars, the house, the significant other, they've got all the career success that they want. Yet these people can feel as if something is missing, right? What's missing when we have all this outward success, but we feel that something's not there? What is that void that isn't there that we feel?
Well, I believe, Brandon, that nobody came to this world to keep things the same. We came here to change things. We came here to make a significant contribution. So there is a process in our life. There is a phase in our life that we need to figure things out for ourselves first, right? I mean, they cover our basic needs to define our identity. That's the youngest years, let's say. You define your identities, you identify your values, your principles, what you believe in, you form your personality, and then you start building the life that you want. But that's the me part. Then there is the we part. You reach a level of consciousness when just satisfying your immediate needs and your family needs are not enough, and you start thinking about your business and your organization, your community, and you say, how can I contribute to that? How can I improve it? But then, and this is when you reach the peak of your consciousness, is when you find that that's not enough. And you know that that's not enough when your coping mechanisms are getting too expensive or too hard to reach or not enough. So the best car in the world is not fast enough. All the travels are not enough. You start getting bored about, seeing places and doing the same things, and all the excitement activities that you buy actually are not enough to fulfill that voice. So that's really a sign that for you to reach the next level, that is the everyone. So we have the me, the we, and the everyone. And
Mm.
that's the moment in your life when you realize that you're here to do something significant to the world. You're here to change things around you, to shake the system that you're part of. And some people know what their calling is. Some people haven't figured it out, but we all have it. So it's just a matter of paying attention. And you have that calling. You can start having that calling very early on in your life. It's just that you ignore it for a while because you think that there are other priorities. And,
Oh,
and that's what happened, that people spend their life and they even burn out trying to reach goals that they think they're going to fulfill that void, but the reason is that they're ignoring that voice, and so they're looking in the wrong place.
oh, very interesting. That cycle of me to we to everyone is very interesting. And so let me ask you a question on that. I was talking to someone recently, a close friend of mine, and he said, I know a lot about you. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, there's one thing I know about you for sure. And I said, okay, well, what is that? And he said, you're never satisfied. You always are going to want more. And I was like, wow, that was a lot deeper than I expected you to go, but it made me think about it. Right. And my question for you is that the same thing as you just mentioned? You've got all these things, right? But then you still want more. Is it a bad thing to want more? Or should there be a moment where you can look at your life and say, I have everything that I need?
No, I think that we are designed as humans to evolve. I mean,
Okay.
like anything in nature, if we stagnate, we're gonna perish. We're gonna die. So we are designed to evolve. We are designed to change. We are changing every day, even we're conscious about it or not. We are changing every day with the input that we get, with the conversations that we have, the connections we make, the projects, the ideas that we develop that change our paradigm about life, about ourselves, about what is possible, what is not possible, what is true, what is not true. So we are evolving, and doing it intentionally is what help us to achieve meaningful things. So there is a difference. And because I've been accused of the same thing, it's like you're never satisfied, you're too ambitious. Some people say you're like a high achiever, and which
Yep.
is true. But and for a moment I thought that that was an insult, that was a
Yeah.
flaw. It's like, wow, so it's like I'll never be enough. And I thought that that mean that I was not grateful for what I had achieved. And nothing is more wrong than that. Actually, is the combination of things. It's being grateful, being proud of what you have done and where you are right now, who you have become, and also said, what's next? What
Mm.
is next for me? What is my next challenge? How can I contribute more? So the ambition that you're talking about is, I think it should be, depends. I mean, if the ambition is I want more cars, more goods, more experiences just for the sake of it,
Hmm.
just to keep up with the Joneses, then you might have a problem. Then
Okay.
you might really feel dissatisfied. But if your ambition is something that actually fulfill you because you feel that you're doing something significant and that you can do more, you can give more. And at the same time, you look back and you're grateful and you learn from your past experiences and you're working on yourself. That's the best place to be.
Yeah. And you feel it too. When you're working on yourself and you're putting in those actions every day to feel better and to make progress, you come back home from the gym or you put the book down and you say, wow, I learned something, or wow, I feel so much better. And there's just that animal presence about us where when we are evolving, there's that voice or that feeling or that intuition that is telling us that we are on the right path and moving towards something greater.
And here I think that there is an element that is important. People think that wanting more will be satisfied with consumption, to consume more. Like you were saying, I've read a book, I get into this, I listen to a podcast, I went to a course, I'm training, I got a scholar, whatever. I went back to college. Consumption of information, knowledge, and learning is absolutely essential. It's important, it's satisfying. But if you're not balancing consumption with production, with construction, with giving, with producing new things and giving it back to the world, then that consumption is just a way for your brain to cheat you, to really trick you into believing that you're growing and that you're making progress. Just the accumulation of information, and that this is something that we all do, and is part of the way our brain works, and it's normal. But it's really important to be aware of that. Is when how many entrepreneurs, especially when you're at the startup process, you say like, yeah, I'm going to do this, but I have to learn for this first, and I have to take this course, and I'm going to take this coach, and I'm going to do this. And everything is, I'm not ready. I need more consumption. I need more information, more knowledge. Yeah. That's not true. You really don't, to create, you don't need that much, because we create from who we are and what we have to contribute and from our essence. Knowledge, information will just polish that.
Yeah.
But get us stuck into the I'm ambitious of more information is as the same thing as ambition of more goods and more stuff. So balancing things is what really makes you feel fulfilled. It's like, yes, I'm absorbing, I'm consuming things from other people, but also I'm giving back.
Yes. So how do you know when you've consumed enough in order to produce based on what you've consumed? How do you balance learning and action? Because I understand what you're saying, because I know many people, many friends who are close to me who are also in the entrepreneurial space, and they haven't written the book yet because they need to learn how to write the book, or they haven't gone on their fitness journey yet because they need to go to the next Tony Robbins event and the next one that they've already been to 10, but they need to go to the next one to learn more, right? No judgment, right? There's a lot of great things you can take from those environments, but you're absolutely right. You at one point need to take action. So when is the point at which you take action from what you've learned? I
think it's from the beginning. I think that for me, this became a rule because I'm a nerd. So, I went all the way to a Ph.D. and then I got my coaching certificate, and people were like, there's nothing above the Ph.D. So why are you going back to, taking a certification that people without a college degree actually can take? It's like, makes no sense. I'm like, well, I love to learn. But I got to the point, and I was like that, devouring books and blogs and articles, and all day. If I could, I would be happy somebody pay me just to learn. But I learned, and I put that as, I set that as a rule for myself. It's like, for everything that I learn, I have to apply it and I have to give back. What is my take on that? How can I combine what I call now, and my coach actually said that, how can I create baby ideas? Baby ideas is I get your idea and then I combine it with my idea and we produce together, or I produce together a baby idea. So it doesn't have to be like a breakthrough, like something, the relativity theory or anything like that, but saying, I'm going to commit myself to, for everything that I consume, I'm going to be grateful for, because somebody made the effort to share that with the world. And so I have access to it. And my way of being grateful and my way to know that I learned something is how I'm going to apply this and how I'm going to give back, how I'm going to create something out of what I'm learning. So you can start doing that from the very beginning. You consume something, you read a book, what you're going to do with that book? What is the takeaway? What you're going to do with that takeaway? How you make that takeaway your thing, and you combine it with your perspective and your values and your views, and give something new back to the community.
Yes. I spoke with someone recently on the show who he wrote a book on how to effectively read books and take action, because so many people read a book and then they just put the book down, they grab the next one that's on the pile, but they never stop to think, okay, what am I going to do now that I've finished reading this book and consuming this information, right? And he talks about exactly what you just said. As you're reading each chapter, not even the whole book, but each chapter, go back through the chapter, look at what you highlighted, and ask the very important question you just mentioned, which is, what am I going to do now with this information? What are my action steps going to take? Because learning doesn't create a result, action creates a result. And it's this balance between taking that action, even if you're not ready to take the action, doing it anyway, and learning from the experience, because you're going to learn infinitely more from that experience, even if it was a bust, than just you reading about it and doing more and learning. Action is the ultimate ingredient for success.
Absolutely. And it's the way to grow, because you don't know how much you know just by consuming information. You know how much you learn by being able to apply that information, to share that information with other people. You know that if I go to a class and I listen to my professor, I might understand things. If I apply it, I know that I learn it. But if I explain it to other students, or if I share it with other people, then I know that I master it. And
Yes.
you're always ready to apply that thing that we tell ourselves that I'm not ready to take action. Yes, I'm ready to take action. Even if the action is not perfect, I am always ready to take action. And the only way to know how I need to improve and where do I need to improve my actions, my behavior, is by putting into practice and then evaluate and saying like, oh, I learned this, I tried, and it didn't come out the way I expected, but something came out. And so what was good about that, and what do I need to improve? What else do I need to learn to make this better? So you're always ready. That's what you're always ready to take action.
You're always ready to apply. I love that. It's a great line. Okay, so let's go back to that person who has all these different facets of their life that they're successful in, but there's something missing, right? You said earlier, finding what's missing, right? And then asking what's next. Okay, so how do you then find what is missing? How do you know what that void is asking for? Is there a process you follow to discover what is missing?
Well, there are many ways. Actually, there are many techniques, and everybody is different. But in general, some things that have worked for me and for my clients and our clients is that, let's say, I'm going to give you two alternatives, two different paths. One could be what hurts for you, what hurts in your heart. I mean, there's some issues, and I'm very committed to social justice and to improve the world in general. I mean, I think that there are so many things that are not working in the world right now, and there is something that is consistent. Maybe violence is something that really moves you, or injustice. Maybe you have a story from your childhood, a traumatizing story, or you have always been sensitive to something, but you have done nothing about it. That thing that hurts in your heart is going to be there all your life. So instead of saying like, oh, I hate this, and try, what some people do is like avoid it because it hurts to see it. So I avoid the news. I avoid reading about this because it hurts too much. is actually doing the opposite, is listening to that. It's like, why it hurts so much? Why it matters to me so much? What can I do about this? And there is always something, no matter where you are, there is always something you can do to ease that pain. That is a calling. And so if you just quiet and you go inwards and you say, like, what is something that hurts? And what can I do about it? That's one way that many people have found that this is something I'm here to do something about it because it's deep in my soul and it's talking to me.
And you believe that that stays with you your whole life, that sense of hurt.
It does. And this is another difference that, people get confused sometimes. We can be sensitive about a lot of things, like, oh, I hate that, child abuse or the mass shooting or, violence or discrimination of all kind. I mean, I'm sensitive about everything, really. Matter. But some things are trends, like I'm really sensitive about the war that is happening right now with Israel, and I can be sensitive, but that's a trend. It's something that is happening right now. It didn't happen a few years ago. It did actually, but not
Sure.
when I was born. So that is a trend. I can be sensitive about a lot of things. But when I look about pattern, when I look for patterns in my life, it's like what has been there all the time.
Yeah.
It's not a trend. It's something that really matters to me, that is deep connected to my core values and my principles and my worldview. And therefore it matters. So it's making the distinction, saying like, I'm sensitive about a lot of things, but there one thing or a few things that I can identify a pattern of pain in my heart, in my soul.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And the other way that you can also, that is a fun way actually. And we love to do this in during our program Moonshot with our clients. We ask, I'm Latina, right? So I'm from Nicaragua, so I'm using this as the resource. But we ask, if you had 3 shots of tequila inside of you, or if you're Latino, let's say 5 or 6. If you have 3 shots of tequila, what would you say to the world without filter?
Wow.
And people, yeah, that's the reaction. It's
That's a
like,
great question.
what? Because we can ask anybody, says, what is your core message? What is that thing that you want to share? What is the idea that you want to spread? What is your message? And people go very academic about it, or very intellect. They overthinking, over rationalize it, they justify it, they filter a lot, they go like they edit it, they try to say in a way that will not bother people, that they will not offend people. And actually your calling is supposed to offend someone, is supposed to bother, to shake, to make feel some people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because the only way to get other people to join you, and the only way to really feel that what you're doing is meaningful and significant, is when it's bold, when it's unique to you, and you're so passionate about it that you're willing to share that view and let the world react to you, instead of trying to accommodate to the world and say things in a way that you don't bother. If you don't bother anyone with your ideas, then you're not saying really anything, you're not communicating anything, you're mimetizing, you're part of the blend, you're the gray area. And the gray area, we're all there. And so people cannot hear you if you're not saying something that actually make other people react to you. So when you ask that question, say like, okay, what is your message? What is your mission? What do you think is your mission in this life? And people go like, well, make a better world, and peace, peace for everybody, and the beauty pageant
Yeah.
message.
Yeah.
When you answer like that, the next question is like, all right, let's pretend that you have 3 shots of tequila inside. What would you really say without filter?
Yeah,
And then what they say is mind blowing.
it is. It's true.
Yeah.
Well, when you ask that question, I think of like when I go out, which is very rarely, but when I do, margaritas are my drink of choice, right? So you got tequila in there. And when I got a couple margaritas, I'm going around the restaurant or the bar and I'm telling all my friends and family and whoever's there that I love them, right? I'm that guy who's like, I love you. I want the best for you. You're doing great things. Like that's me, right? And that idea of there's always going to be a side and a certain amount of people who disagree and feel uncomfortable about what it is that you stand for, what it is you speak about. I'd like to ask you personally when it comes to that, because when I look at what I do professionally, I work with sales leaders to help them master themselves. And the reason I do that and what got me into that is I think sales is the most beautiful profession because you can create a beautiful life for yourself while serving and helping other people create a great life with your product.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of salespeople who unnecessarily suffer because they fail to master themselves and they fail to take care of themselves. And if you don't take care of your body, your finances, your spirituality, you're going to not sell that much and you're not going to have a good time doing it. So my question for you is that message of I love to help salespeople and sales leaders to love themselves and to master themselves. Is there truly a person out there who could look at that and feel uncomfortable about that message? Do people have to be uncomfortable about your message? And if the answer is yes, then what if they're not? Am I speaking on the wrong message?
Well, I think that's your mission, not your message. Your
Okay.
message, I will ask you, is like, why? Why you think, why what you're doing matters? Why is important for them to love themselves? What is the core belief behind that?
What is the core belief behind that? Why is it important for them to love themselves? Because when you love yourself, you're able to give more love to other people. I think that's the core belief. If I had to really dig deep and that's probably still surface level, but I'd say that's the overall belief in the why.
And maybe your maybe one of your beliefs and you kind of say it a moment ago. You said selling is really about serving.
Yes.
And that's a very strong core belief. And that challenge the concept of selling that most people have. That say, maybe your core belief is that selling should not be about manipulation and marketing and creating needs that there doesn't exist. And it's not about manipulation. Selling is all about providing value and offering to serve someone. And the only way to do that is by really serving yourself first.
Wow.
So you
Yeah.
know that you come from that place of service. That is a strong message because you're challenging people. That's the marketers, the traditional marketers, the old school that says like, well, selling is about telling people what to think and make them believe that they need our product or our service, and we're gonna use psychological and behavioral change techniques to make them buy us our product. But you say like, no, that's manipulation. That's gaslighting. Selling is not about that. Selling is about serving people and providing value and making value accessible to them because they want it, they need it, they are seeking for it. And so my role as a salesperson is to serve them. But first, I need to learn how to serve myself. It's challenging. That is provoking.
Yes, 100%. Thank you for that because that personally helped me, and I'm sure that it helps someone else who's listening too, who really wants to dive deep into what is that missing thing for my life, what's missing, and what do I do about it. Okay, great. So let's say we've identified that void in our life, and we're like, okay, now I know what I want to focus on. But then there's that question of what do I do next? And you've mentioned this several times. What's next? how do you know that what you're working on next is the right thing to be working on? Or is it simply important to just start working?
Both. I mean,
Okay.
you need to start working at the same time, get the feedback. Your action will give you a feedback. Your results are the feedback, but also other people are providing feedback, how they react. What is this really what the kind of results that you wanted to achieve? And um, well, let's say you know what your message is. You know what you're here to do. You understand your core belief. That is that one. Is challenging, is provocative. So you ask yourself, how can I align my life, my job, my work, my career, my business around this belief? How can everything can get integrated? Because if this is your core belief, you cannot have a personal life and be someone, but be that person that serve, that believe in providing value in your personal life, and then go on a job that is manipulative and gaslighting the audience and et cetera. That creates a lot of this cognitive dissonance and a lot of conflict. And part of the void that we're talking about is that inner conflict, is that I'm not living my purpose in an integrated way. So the next step is to actually evaluate your life and your job and your whole life, and say, how can I align everything that is happening in my life to my core beliefs? What kind of job do I need to do? Maybe it maybe implies to leave your job, to your current job, and find another one, or build your own business. And anything that says, how can I be aligned? What in Spanish we have a word that doesn't translate into English. You have to explain it. That is consecuente. Consecuente is really being aligned with the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act in every aspect of your life. Is that's being consequent with yourself. And so you make a plan and you evaluate and you say, what do I need to align all that in all aspects of my life, so I feel like a whole person, and I'm fulfilling my vision and my mission and my purpose in every aspect of my life. Because that purpose of serving and providing value, if it's true to you, you do it in your relationships, in your personal relationship, in your marriage, with your kids, with your friends, with your clients, with your colleagues, with your friend, with everybody. Is you live that purpose.
Yeah.
So having a plan, having a strategy on how to align everything is one of the first steps. But then that's not enough, because we can have the best plan on writing and we still don't execute it as well. We still say like, well, yeah, I should be bold and I really believe in this, but I'm gonna, wishy-washy it. I'm gonna work easy into it. And that
Yes.
is fear. That is, we don't do a lot of the things that we know already we want to do, we need to do, because we're afraid. And that's where, and that's part of the things that you help people with, is to really know yourself. Knowing yourself is one part, is one step. The next part is to master yourself. And master yourself in my book is to really understand how your mind works, how your brain works, how you have been socialized, and going through the process of what I call decolonizing your mind. And
Wow.
decolonizing your mind is one of the first steps that I guide my clients through it. That is understanding that you are not just isolated. You are not just a person that it happens to think and to believe and to have the personality you have and to have the belief that you have. It's not just something that happened. We live within huge complex systems that have socialized us in a way that serve the purpose of the system,
Yeah.
not our purpose of life, but the purpose of the system. And right now, I think in our times, I think that we have four major colonizers, system colonizers. And I'm
Okay.
not talking about the English or the Spanish, but no, I'm talking about the modern colonizers are consumerist capitalists, white supremacy, patriarchy, and institutionalized religion. We have all those systems that interact with each other in a way that is so complementary and so entangled that we live within the system. It's like trying to read the label from inside the bottle. It's hard for us to see it without external help and without some kind of guided process that help us understand that those systems are kind of propaganda machines that make us believe, really believe, that their ideas and beliefs and norms are ours and are true. And we go by life without challenge them, without question them. So we might believe that, yeah, my purpose is in life is to serve, is to give back to the community, is to fight for social justice. But, and this is the but, and the but is not ours. The but is like who I think I am. I'm just a woman. I'm too young. I
Mm.
don't have a college degree. I don't have the experience. I'm bad with money. I don't know how to manage money. And all the identities and labels and norms and limiting belief that we have built in ourselves that went unchallenged for all our life and maybe even now. And mastering yourself start by first decolonizing your mind to really understand how the systems work, how
Mm.
they stay in place, and how they use your brain and your mind to reproduce it. You become an actor and a reproducer of the system that is actually oppressing you.
So, do you believe there's value in changing the system, or is there more value in understanding the system and using the system to further your mission?
And I think it's both ends, because I think that you can, if you understand the system and you really understand how that complex system works and how oppressive system works and stay in place, and you become aware of the injustice of that system, what is wrong with the system, how those systems are oppressing you and oppressing other people, and you don't do anything about it, you're accomplice. And that feels bad. As I said at the beginning, I really believe that nobody was born to keep things the same, to keep the status quo. We are born to change things, to evolve as humans, as individuals, but also in a collective way as humanity. So we see a system and we understand. One thing is ignorance. We don't understand, we don't know, we go by, being a victim of the system, being a tool of the system. But once you raise that level of consciousness, it's really not a matter of will. You will not be able to live with yourself if you have that level of consciousness and you don't do anything about it. So I think that when you reach that level of consciousness, you have the calling to shake the system. If not become what I call a history shaper, which is the people that we like to work with, is the people that have the calling of changing history in their industry, in the society, in their community, no matter, but really making such an impact that becomes an before and after, not just you individually, but what you created, the movement that you built. If not that, at least you have to become a system shaker, meaning
Mm.
you really shake the system and you shake it in a way that it falls apart in some way and falls back in a different way, in a better way. So becoming, and that's, I think that the calling of all true leaders is to shake the system they are part of.
Yes.
And so how you work with the system, yes, in the sense that since if you understand the system, not just like, oh, the system is oppressive, it's no. How complex adaptive systems actually sustain themselves and change, and you understand the rules, that where a systemic view, complexity science helps a lot, is to understand what are the patterns that all complex adaptive systems share, and what are the rules, what are the laws that propel a system to change. And you use from within the system, you use those laws and those patterns of behavior of a system to shake it from within, to transform it. Then you're fulfilling your purpose.
Wow. I love the twists and turns that conversation just took, because that's a very unique way of thinking that exemplifies what you just said, which is that is the very essence of leadership, right? Shaking a system. Because as people, if we stand still, we die, right? As a system, if that stands still, it also dies. Everything must constantly be moving forward, constantly evolving, or it dies. And it's not simply about doing, but it's about living the mission, living the message, living the purpose. And I love how you asked the question, how can you align your life with that of your message and your mission? Because if your life is aligned with that, then that's how you make progress forward. So amazing conversation so far. And before we talk about your Substack and the programs you're working on, which you've already mentioned, Moonshot, which I want to talk to you about those. You mentioned production several times and consistent production. So how do you measure success in terms of what you are producing? Is it working a certain amount of hours, creating a certain amount of things? How do you measure success in living out your mission?
I measure it in the quality of the value that I contribute. It's not about how much you produce, how much you create. I will use the word create more than production. It's not how much you create or how big is your creation, is how valuable it is. And you will know that because you will get the feedback. You will get some kind of feedback. And feedback, I'm not referring at comments on your blogs or anything. I'm getting about the response of your community, how the system is responding to that. That's how you measure the value. And actually, as an entrepreneur, as a businesswoman, I believe that money and success and prestige and reputation and your brand, when you're aligned and you're really focusing, I mean, you really make it a goal for you, a purpose to produce and to give value as much as you can, without being like, yeah, well, I give you this, but then I give this in return, and let's be correlated, without being transactional. It's just like, I'm gonna give all the value that I have. Money, success, reputation will just flow to you. It's been proven, is the more value you give, the more you will get. And it's almost mathematical. So it's not about how much you give. It's not how much you work. It's not how many articles you produce or podcast episode you produce. It's not how much clients do you have. It's not that will guarantee your success. It's about the value that you contribute. Because if people think, I really need this absolutely changed my life, they're hooked with you for life.
Yeah, that's true.
But if it's like, I'm overwhelmed with this guy that is, like Virginia, keeps sending me stuff that I don't care, and I send to a spam because it doesn't contribute anything to me. It doesn't matter if I work 24 hours a day. It's not about that. I believe in quality of life because I believe in the quality of the mind also. I believe in the quality. I think that value comes from the quality of your thoughts, of the capacity to produce and to innovate. And we need conditions. We need to give ourselves the conditions to produce high quality value. And a mind that gets some rest, a mind that gets connections, interactions, that have this kind of conversations, that when I invest in improving my quality of thinking, my quality of productions, of creations, the value that I produce is way better.
Mm.
So we said, there's so many people that said, I'm busy. I hate that word. Busyness is a way for your mind to keep you distracting from producing value.
Yes.
So when you invest in what do my mind needs to produce the highest level of value that I can produce in this moment in my life with the knowledge and experience and perspectives that I have. And you invest on that, and you invest in learning, and you invest in connections and interactions, and you invest in the quality of interactions that you have, and you stop the busyness, and you focus on what is the priority. And the priority is this gonna help me to improve my level of thinking, to improve my level of consciousness, so the value that I contribute back to my community is better, is higher. That's the measure of success for me.
It's so true, because if you're too busy to do these things that will further your mission, then you are working on the wrong things.
You're
Because
just
if you
surviving.
can't, exactly, you haven't yet aligned your life with that of your message and your vision. And that's a great way to know yourself, because if you keep saying, well, I'm too busy to start the podcast, or I'm too busy to write the book, or I'm too busy to create the course, then you haven't yet aligned your life, and maybe it's not the best time for you to do those things, right? Align your life so that you can make the time to live out your mission. That's powerful. I've taken so many notes. Like, let me zoom in here for those watching the video. I've taken literally a page of notes from this conversation where I ran out of room. And if I've taken this much out of this short conversation, then I know there's a lot more to be had on your Substack. So for those listening, I invite you to go visit Virginia's Substack, and we're going to talk about it here. You can go to makingitmassive.substack.com. And give me an example. What can people find when they join your Substack community, Virginia?
Well, we have a newsletter. We have all the articles that we produce. For instance, talking about that, I just produced a series of 2 parts articles on why leaders should embrace complexity science. And I try to be the less academic as possible, to really explain what makes a difference when you make a paradigm shift on what we understand leadership is all about, and how to become a true leader, and how complexity science and understanding systems and system thinking and how systems work and change can make a huge difference. For instance, we come from, and you can find those articles, both part 1, part 2, in our Substack, and also in our LinkedIn profile for Massive. But just to give you an example, talking about leadership and how you fulfill your mission and your vision as a leader, we believe we've been taught by mostly patriarchy and white supremacy and institutionalized religion and capitalism, really, consumerist capitalism, that the leaders is the one that have all the answers. For me, the leaders is the one that have the best questions. That leaders are the one that give directions, and top-down communication. You let people know what is the mission, what is the vision, how we get there, instead of being the one instead of perceiving, understanding your role as a leader as the one that create the conditions. Your role is to create the conditions, to remove obstacles for innovation, and to create the conditions to engage the whole system, and to tap into the collective creativity and intelligence for the system to figure it out and to solve complex problems. Because this is understanding that as leaders, we cannot be smarter than the system itself. Our level of complexity as humans is very limited. The complex problems that we're facing right now, in the world, especially with globalization, with the new technology, with how everything is interconnected, our capacity to really understand, even diagnose the problem is extremely limited, but the system knows. And so our role as leaders, our role as thought leaders is to empower the system, is to engage everyone into using the resource, their individuals, and combine creativity, capacity for innovation, resilience, and intelligence to figure it out what the problem is. And usually it's not what is obvious, usually it's not the symptom, is way deeper than that. So to figure out what the problem is and what is the best solution by trial and error. So as leaders, we have to, our role is to create the conditions for a shared vision, so we don't have to give very specific instructions, so we don't have to rely on log frames that are so useless. Log frames, we're with the way we work is like with log frames, because that's the Newtonian linear way of thinking that we learned for centuries. That okay, we do A, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this is going to be the result. 99% of the time, and I'm being very optimistic here, it doesn't work. It's like, wait a second. And so we fire someone, we blame someone, we say like, well, the problem is that we haven't planned well enough, we need more information, we need more details. Systems don't work that way. Systems are unpredictable and controllable. It's like raising a child. You can have 10 children, and the 11, you start all over again because it's a completely unique system. So we're always interacting with uncertainty and with change and with evolution, and we have to keep up the pace. We have to adapt. We have to observe how the system is reacting to our efforts, our initiatives, our tries, and get the feedback that we need and say how we adjust, what is working, what is not working. So it's an evolving process. The log frame will stay in the drawer, in the paper, because after a month that you did it, you're never going to look back at it again, because it already changed everything. The landscape changed. So if we get fixed to the map, we get lost, because the landscape is changing all the time.
Yes.
So developing those systemic leadership skills is absolutely essential for leaders today, I think. That start by knowing yourself, mastering your mind, so your ego doesn't get in the way of, I know everything, I'm better than everybody, I have all the answers. Is remove that, really mastering your ego, mastering your mind, mastering your emotions, so they don't get in the way of being the true leader that your organization, your community, your society needs. That is understanding how systems work, how they change, and then creating the conditions to allow the system to do what it does best, that is to evolve, and that is to solve complex problems.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well said. And like you said in that too, feedback is so important. And by joining a community like the one that is linked in the description, your Substack, you're going to find groups of people and a community of people that can help to give you feedback, right? And especially in your programs that you're launching, you've got Moonshot and you've got Justice Queen. And where's the best place? Is your Substack the best place for people to find information on the programs that you're working on currently?
Yes, I mean, Substack will keep them up, will keep you updated on everything that we're doing, interviews that we're having, thoughts and articles and things like that. You can also look our website, that is massivechange.co, and we have a lot of information. Is what is our mission? Where we come from? What are our core beliefs? The kind of provocative thoughts that we said, and we let the world react to us. And you can find us on LinkedIn too. Personally, I mean, just look for me, Virginia Lacayo, send me a message, start a conversation. I love to connect with people that says, I'm like nobody else I know. That's the kind of people I love to meet, is when people say like, Virginia, I don't know anybody like me. I'm totally different than everybody. And I have these crazy ideas about the world. And I think that I think we should do something about it. I love to have conversation with people like that.
Cool. That's awesome. Great. We'll have all those links in the description, guys, for Virginia's LinkedIn, their website, which again is massivechange.co, and her Substack as well. Virginia, this has been amazing. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Thanks for sharing your wisdom. And thank you personally for what you've given me. And I know that other people are going to be thinking the same. So thank you very much for being a great guest.
You're very welcome. This was a thrill, really.
Love to hear it. Thank you very much. This was incredible. And from Dr. Lacayo, you now have the recipe to know yourself, to master your mind, and to move forward towards your own next level of personal evolution. This is great for the person who is a high achiever, but has that feeling of, what do I do next? What is going to fill that void? Now you know how to identify what's in that void in the first place and what to focus on so that you can align your life with your mission and your purpose. And again, very important, receiving feedback on this journey is going to be very, very important. You got to surround yourself with the right people. And the best way to do that is go to the description below. If you resonated with Dr. Virginia, be sure to join her Substack community, which is makingitmassive.substack.com. All the links are in the description. And be sure to check out her programs, Moonshot and Justice Queen, and they're for different audiences. So be sure to check out the program, see which one you fit in most, read all about it, see if it makes sense for you. I hope that you took a lot out of this conversation. If you did, please share the show with just one other person who could use it as well. Thank you for watching and tuning in. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.